and welcome to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'll be your host. So on today's episode, we are going to make a wish that we switch places with our sister and then live out the hijinks that come along with that. But we're also, going to learn a little something about each other and, have a wonderful time along the way. But regardless of all of that, though, today's episode, we're going to be covering 1996's Wish Upon a Star. Now, this movie for me, I honestly had never really even heard of it till recently. And I saw that it came up on Prime. And when I found what this movie was, I was like, okay, so Danielle Harris is there. And as any of you may know, I love me a good Danielle Harris movie. So of course I'm going to watch, I'm going to watch it. And this was on the list when I found that she was in it. But then I was like, oh, there's also a young Katherine Heigl in it. And I was like, all right, that's cool too. Like, I wonder what the hell this is even supposed to be about. And when I found out that it was kind of a Freaky Friday kind of story a little bit, but with sisters, I was like, well, I have a sister. Like, that's fun. Why not watch this? And then also learning that it's technically like a Disney movie because it was on their channel and it, there's some sort of part of it in a way. But like, it was interesting to look at this and really watch it for the first time, and watched it earlier this year, probably a couple months ago. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself watching this film. It is, I think, probably the first TV movie I've covered. I guess unless you cover Beautiful Thing, maybe, I guess that's kind of a TV movie, but like, okay. But anyway, I just really enjoyed this film, and I think it is definitely a cult classic, probably because it is this niche TV movie thing, right? But I also think like I could see why young ladies or young femme presenting people, could really get into this movie and enjoy it for what you are to learn from it, which is really nice. So I'm glad I watched it, and I'll talk a little bit about it, of what I can today. So as we normally do on the show, we're going to talk about, the figures of the movie, a little bit about the production of this film, and then also move into a plot summary as well. So without further ado, let's move on to those figures. So Wish Upon a Star was released on October 12th, 1996, and was directed by Blair Treu, written by Jessica Barondes, and produced by David C. Anderson and Don Shane. There is no estimated budget for this movie or any box office information because this is a Disney Channel original movie technically, so I don't have any of that information. We're looking at a Rotten Tomatoes score of 40% on the tomato meter and a 74% audience score. We're looking at a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb and a Letterboxd score of 3.1 out of 5. For our cast of characters, we have Katherine Heigl as Alexia Wheaton, the older sister, Danielle Harris as Haley Wheaton, the younger sister, Don Jeffcoat as Kyle Harding, Alexia's boyfriend, Scott Wilkinson as Benjamin Wheaton, the dad, and Mary Parker Williams as Nan Wheaton, the mom, Lois Chiles as Principal Mary Mittermiller, Ivy Lloyd as Caitlin Scheinbaum, Haley's friend, Matt Barker as Simon, the new neighbor of the Wheaton family, Jacques Gray as Kazumi, Alexia's friend, Carrie White as Tally, Alexia's friend, and January Sorensen as Sabrina, Alexia's other friend. Some critical response quotes about Wish Upon a Star are as follows. We have Audrey Rock Richardson from the Tool Transcript Bulletin from Utah, who states, harmless enough, but so condescendingly saccharine you might gag on it. And then we have Tracy Moore from Common Sense Media, Treasures Upon Treasures, who states, romp about trading places has stereotypes, sensuality. There you go, Common Sense Media. So before we move into any kind of a plot summary about Wish Upon a Star, I think it's important to talk about a little bit of production history, and let me tell you something, there's not much to it because this is a TV movie, so I don't exactly have like the most rich production history to share with you, but I'll share a little bit of what I found out. So to talk about the production of this movie, you do have to talk a little bit about the director of the film, and this is a guy by the name of Blair Treu. And this person pretty much like he grew up and was raised as a Mormon, because if you didn't already know, this movie in particular is shot in Utah. I think it's supposed to technically be Colorado, but it's all in Utah. And so this gentleman, Blair, he had directed some feature films, television documentaries, and things like that for over like 30 years. But he began his career at the Walt Disney Corporation, actually, as an assistant to Marty Katz, who was the senior vice president of television and feature production. And about a year later, he then ventured into script development, where he was supervising script coverage for the ABC Disney Sunday Movie until about 1987. And then about 6 years later, after doing documentaries and commercials, his feature directorial debut came in 1993 with a movie called Just Like Dad, which apparently starred Wallace Shawn from Clueless and Nick Cassavetes. So this would be a first of 3 films that he created for the Disney Channel, along with The Paper Brigade, which had this guy Kyle Howard in it, and also had Robert Englund in it. And for any of you who wonder who Kyle Howard is, hey, Sarah, guess what movie he was in? House Arrest. He plays Grover in that movie. So he plays one of the kids in it. But anyway, so that's kind of fun and dandy. But and then also, like I said, Robert Englund was in that movie. But then also he ended up doing Wish Upon a Star. He then went on to do like Chicken Soup for the Soul, which had a TV show. Oh, bitch, really? He did Phantom of the Megaplex. Listen, I love me some Phantom of the Megaplex, bitch. That movie has Mickey Rooney's in that movie. Like, it's so fucking crazy, dude. I might do a Phantom of the Megaplex episode. I'm not gonna lie. I really should. That movie's so good. Anyway, so... But that's a little bit about this gentleman, this Blair guy. You know, he was... raised as a Mormon, and so that's not surprising to me whatsoever at all, because literally, like, this movie just feels kind of like, I don't know, like what a Mormon would think is like pushing the envelope a little bit. I don't know. You can kind of tell a little bit, but that's a little bit of information we have about Blair and how he made this movie in particular. It was also written by a woman. It was written by Jessica Barondes. So I don't really think she'd really written a whole lot. I think this was like one of her first things she wrote, and she didn't go on to have like a prolific career or anything, but you know, hey, it is what it is. This movie in particular was shot at Hunter High School in West Valley City, Utah. It was shot in 1995 and early 1996, so probably obviously late 95 into 96. So this is like right after Clueless, but like right before a teen boom of the 90s, you know, of movies. And of course, this was also a different time because with Disney Channel, and maybe some younger people who listen may not already realize this, but, you know, the Disney Channel before it was accessible to everybody was literally a paid for subscription type of channel. It was similar to something like correct me if I'm wrong, but like it was similar to something like an HBO, Showtime, kind of like that, where you had to pay every month to watch it. Whereas a lot of people now, they couldn't even imagine that. Even I remember on the Disney Channel, I remember not having Disney Channel. And it wasn't until the early 2000s where you had the Disney Channel become more accessible to people, because I think they were trying to make it more accessible to people, where they put it into like basic cable packages and it wasn't necessarily an extra charge. So when this movie came out in particular, and then some of the early DCOMs, Disney Channel original movies, were coming out, they were still behind that kind of paywall, if you will. Whereas, you know, nowadays people can watch the Disney Channel whenever the fuck they want. So that's so crazy to me to think as well. But yeah, in the movie, actually, the real Hunter High School basketball team, they played the opposing team, the Wolverines, in this movie. So they were kind of included in there. And then, of course, because the guy's a Mormon, he had to like very much make sure that he thanked like the school board for letting them be there and like all that kind of stuff, which is cute. That's a basic idea of what the production history is. Again, it was a gentleman who had worked at Disney and had worked his way into getting to direct, which is cool. And he's gone on to do a few different things as well, which is good for him. And also too, like, I think a fair amount of the people who were involved in this, I mean, they did enjoy it. It seems like, at least from what I can gather. I think Danielle Harris has even said that this is a film where, you know, she tended to enjoy the time she was on it, you know? And of course, there's the thing of like the fact that Danielle Harris plays the little sister in this movie, but she's actually older than Katherine Heigl, technically. She's just shorter than her. So it's obviously like you're going to think she's a little bit more younger. But she's not technically. So anyway, but yeah. And then some fun little things too are like, there's a table dance scene that's in the lunchroom that we'll talk about. And she actually was a little nervous about shooting that scene. So she chose the boys that she thought would be the most uncomfortable watching her dance. And that made her more comfortable, which I think is really fun. So there's that. Danielle Harris has also said that, this is one of her favorite roles because it is a comedic role she did, which really she didn't do a ton of comedy. I mean, she has this, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, a little bit, and that kind of thing. But like she hasn't really done a whole lot of particular comedy. And I think this is like a really fun way of doing it. And apparently she was also hired 3 days before shooting on the spot at her audition because they probably fucking needed somebody, dude. Like, this is like a little kind of low budget TV movie. Like you need to get somebody, and hey, Danielle Harris does the job. Why not? So that kind of worked. That's as much as I think I could have found, really. And then, of course, like moon pools and caterpillars are the people who are they're the band, like at the end, and they're playing throughout. So a lot of their music is in here, which is kind of fun. But yeah, anyway, so that's about as much as I probably could really find in terms of production history. But I think it just informs so much about this movie, I feel like. And yeah, I think without further ado, after we've gone all over all of that stuff, let's move into a plot summary of Wish Upon a Star. One thing I would like to mention before I go into a plot summary of this movie is that this movie moves like fucking lightning. So hopefully we can get through it kind of quick, actually, because literally like it just moves so quick. And then also I'd like to also say, because it is a body swap movie, if I get things like mixed up a little bit, don't crucify me, I guess. But let's move on. Anyway, we have our like funky pop intro going on, which I love the little pop music that's like throughout this movie. But we have our intro to Alexia Wheaton, played by a young Katherine Heigl, and she is like the popular girl of the school. And then we have our intro also to Hayley Wheaton, played by a young Danielle Harris. And so you can tell that Alexia and Hayley are definitely different from one another. As I said, Alexia is very much the popular girl. She's very much about her fashions and about her looks and all this kind of stuff. And Hayley is definitely more about like she's a tomboy, and she is not as interested in her looks, I guess, and she's just like trying to be a fucking like sophomore in high school. You know what I mean? So anyway, we see Alexia getting ready in the morning. She wakes up and she like puts on her makeup and she's putting on her outfit and all this kind of stuff, right? And so in the meantime, while Alexia is getting ready, we have breakfast at the Wheatons with the mom and the dad as well, and Hayley's at the table, and then Alexia takes forever to fucking get downstairs, pretty much. Anyway, so then we also have this all going on. I believe Alexia actually does come downstairs at some point, because we have Hayley waiting in the car, the Jeep that Alexia drives, and she's honking because, again, Alexia's just taking forever to get downstairs. She comes downstairs and grabs like a piece of fruit or something and calls her mom Nan and Ben, I believe, or something like that. And then the parents have this like little thing going on. They have their whole conversation afterward. But when Alexia leaves the house, we have these like creepy construction guys who are just like catcalling this teenage girl, which is just fucking creepy. But anyway, so then we have the mom who is going on after the girls have left about how Alexia is dressed, because she is dressed in this like particular like purple outfit, if I'm not mistaken. It's really pretty. It's really cute. The fashions of this film are just so good. A lot of what Alexia wears is just like top tier. It's so good. But anyway, so she's going on about how she's dressed, and the mom's being kind of neurotic or whatever, you know, as you do when you're a mom and you're like trying to like raise teen girls, I guess. But anyway, but the rosy of this is that the fact that you find out that the mom and the dad are actually shrinks, they're psychiatrists. And so they decide that they are going to practice like this hands-off parenting style, if you will, which I don't know if you want to do that, but okay, whatever. Because, you know, it's a matter of like, if if kids are told to not do something, they're more apt to do it. And so to be hands off and whatever might just let them kind of grow into their own person and yada, 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 whatever. Psychobabble. But anyway, so then we go into Alex, which Alexia is also called throughout the movie. So I might also throw in Alex there too. But Alex and Heigl, they arrive at school. Heigl is late for class because fucking Alex is fucking late. And so Heigl is late for class in her, I think it was her astronomy class. And so, she comes in late and, she's just kind of embarrassed by it. And Alex goes into gym class and she is sitting out gym class because she's too pretty and popular to be doing gym. So she has like her fake doctor's note or whatever. And is pretty much saying like, I can't, participate in gym today or whatever. Then we have lunchtime where the respective sisters, have their respective lunch stuff that they do. So, you have Alex with her like popular girlfriends, and then you have Heigl with her friend Caitlin. And so that's all fun and dandy. They have their own little respective things going on. You get to just see how different these two sisters are, really. Then we have math class. So we have a math class where this is I believe, a more advanced math class, but it's like a senior level math class because we find that Alex is a senior and then Heigl is a sophomore, but Heigl is very much supposed to be smart. And so she like is in a more advanced math class, even though she's just a sophomore. We have this then change because Alex asks to go to the bathroom and she goes in and changes her clothes while she's in the bathroom because I guess after math class, Alex goes into this like kind of interview thing going on in the principal's office, Mrs. Miller, I believe her name is. And anyway, so we see that Alex has changed into these subdued clothings, okay? She's not as flashy as before. She's very much a subdued person in this. And she's like pretty much sucking up to the fucking, she's sucking up to the principal. And anyway, so she's sucking up to the principal and we find out that Alex's grades are trash because she has a 2.0 GPA pretty much because she has prioritized being popular as opposed to trying to actually do good in school. And so I love her. I love the just fortitude that Alex has because, the principal is all like, Alex is asking like, I'd love to get a recommendation from you and blah, 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 blah. And the principal's like, just what do you think it would say? Like, even though like Alex is at the bottom 75th percentile of her class, she does this. And then Alex is just like, so you'll consider it. It's just like the fortitude that she has, I really love. Anyway, so then in the meantime, we see Heighl's back at home with her friend Caitlin and they're snooping in Alex's room. So this is, I guess to be assumed, kind of a practice that they do where they just kind of like, snoop around Alex's room when she's away and just like read her diary, try on her clothes, things like that. Because, why not? Like your pretty older sister and all that, why not? Anyway, so then we have dinner at the Wheatons. So we also have our introduction to Kyle, played by Donald Jeffcoat or Donnie Jeffcoat, who is from the show Wild and Crazy Kids back in the 90s on Nickelodeon. But anyway, this is him being an actor, and he plays Alexia's boyfriend at this point. So they're here for dinner. So Caitlin's there for dinner, and then Kyle's there for dinner, and they're having their whole kind of conversation at dinner. So, for example, like Alex is talking about like getting her dressed. It's gonna be $300. Thought they had a budget of $200, but it's just so pretty and whatever, right? Having that kind of a thing, and then also like pretty much Heighl's talking about how she's not going to go to the dance pretty much, and they're just having their whole conversation with them. You also find that Heigl is interested, or she has this crush on Kyle and all of that as well. We find this out. And again, we just see how these sisters kind of don't interact a whole lot. I think even Alex literally says, to her mom after her mom says, oh, you should take Heigl with you to go dress shopping or whatever. And, Alex is like, Mom, like, we're just sisters. We're not friends. And that's very much something that I think people can relate to for sure, like, yeah, like when you're a certain age, like you don't want to be with your siblings. You kind of want to be on your own and you want to like make your own life and you don't want to include your siblings. I know for me, being that I have an older sister, when we were younger, definitely like, you want to, for me as somebody who just wanted to belong somewhere. I mean, seeing that my sister had friends when I didn't have as many, like, absolutely, I would want to like put myself into there because I then felt like I had some sort of connection, and I think other people could probably feel that too. You know what I mean? Like, why not? But anyway, so then we have Heigl stargazing as she does because we are to find that she's like a science geek. So of course she's like in her astronomy class and like earlier, but then also we see her stargazing and looking for stars and stuff like that. And she sees Alex, and Kyle in the hot tub or whatever, I guess, that they have a hot tub. And so like, we see her stargazing and then Heigl decides to make a wish on a shooting star that she sees. And her wish is that she wishes she was Alexia Wheaton. And so then we have the next morning and we find out that because pretty much what happens is that we see the girls respectively get out of bed and pretty much, I guess, if we're to say, Alex in Heigl's body goes into the bathroom and she sees that she is now her younger sister pretty much. And she like freaks out. And then in turn, Heigl in Alex's body realizes that she's her older sister and it pretty much the wish worked. And they're like, oh shit. Oh my God. What do we do? So like, they're both like freaking out. And this is where you have the like, oh, ew. Like, I don't like it here. Change me back. And it's just like really funny and really super silly. But anyway, so then they're trying to think of like, all right, like, because what happens is that Heigl in Alex's body, so I guess I'll refer to them as I can, but Heigl pretty much she comes clean about like, I made a wish that I was you and I guess it worked, pretty much. And so Alex in Heigl's body is literally trying to be like, all right, what can we do to do this? All right. So she's like, she tries to do like a birthday wish. So she gets like a little cake with a candle on it and is like, all right, go make a wish, happy birthday to you, yada yada yada, right? It's that kind of a thing. That doesn't work. They try a wishbone together. That doesn't work either. They put pennies in the toilet as you would put like in a fountain or whatever to be like, making a wish and stuff like that. So it's just like so silly and funny. Just what they try to do, but they realize that they're kind of stuck like this for a little bit. So Alex gets Heigl ready in her body pretty much. So yeah, Alex is, getting her ready because she doesn't know how to do this stuff to, she doesn't know how to do it for Alex, really. So, of course, so she has to end up doing that. We see this wonderful, beautiful blue outfit. It has like blue polka dots on it. It's just like so good. And I put in my notes, it's iconic. And then I have this fucking picture of Kyle because there is this thing where I think it's Heigl at this point. It's in Alex's body and she's looking at a picture of Alex. She's looking at a picture of Kyle and the picture is just like one way. And then she says something and then the picture like changes to him like with a, O face or whatever. And it's just like really silly. And I'm just like, oh my God, this fucking picture, dude. So, like they want to make sure each other gets ready respectively. And pretty much they have breakfast as each other. So they're trying to like keep up the ruse and everything like that. And so then what ends up happening is that they leave for school and everything like that. So like, I believe Alex calls her parents by their names, but she's in her little sister's body. So they're just like, wait, what the hell is going on? But anyway, so then And then the other thing fun too is that like, so the girls leave for school and like literally Alex is like, what do you think you're doing? And she's like, and Heighl's like, well, I'm driving to school. Like, what do you think? And be like, not with my keys, like not in my car. Like, what are you talking about? I'll drive. And, of course, like she can't necessarily drive because she's in her little sister's body. I also love how Heigl just waves at the construction workers who are calling her. I think that's very funny. She's just like, hey. It's just like really silly. We also have Simon, who's like the new neighbor guy. We saw him a little bit earlier, but then also we see him in this because he's noticing them as well. He'll come into the story a little bit later. But anyway, so then the girls arrive at school because literally Alex in Heighl's body was driving to school pretty much, which Miss Middlemealer saw. Okay. And she was like not happy with that. And she says something to the girls and they both respectively kind of like, make their own little defense against this, right? And then we see that Heigl, because literally, I think Heigl said something to Alex, was like, well, don't worry, like if you just like faint and you get sent home, that's fine because they have a test in astronomy today, right? And so what ends up happening is that Alex in her little sister's body faints in class. As she suggested to do, and she ends up getting sent home. I do love how when she's getting sent home, there's the thing of maybe we could stop by for some ice cream and some go to Blockbuster on the way or whatever. And for kids who don't know, Blockbuster was a movie rental store that before the days of Netflix and all of that, you would have to literally go and rent VHSs or DVDs or whatever from your local Blockbuster or local video store, and then you'd have to bring them back. And it costs money to like do this, a ton. You could also get video games there too. And it was lit. It was really fun. But and then also fun fact, if you didn't already know about Blockbuster, not to go on a tangent, but kind of go on tangent. If you didn't already know, Blockbuster actually had the chance to buy out Netflix, but they didn't take it. They actually tried doing their own thing, and then they completely went under as a business. So that's really fun. So that's just like really, they really fumbled the bag with that one. But go watch the last Blockbuster if you're at all interested in that kind of thing. It makes me feel super old, honestly, but whatever. Okay, so like back to the movie. But we have Alex at lunch, and Alex is inviting Caitlin over to eat with the popular girls because Caitlin is very much kind of like a wannabe a little bit. Like she wants to be a popular girl and she wants to be a part of that. And so because, Heigl is in the body of her sister, she's like letting her friend experience this, which is kind of fun. But then also in this same situation, we find out that Heigl finds out while she's in her sister's body that she actually broke up with Kyle, and she did not realize that because, as we know, there's this crush going on, and she's like, oh shit, like how could you break up with him? Like, god damn it, right? And so that all happened. But yeah, so then we have a sick day home from school. So, we see Alex is living her life in her little sister's body, being home from school and, eating ice cream and like just chilling on the couch and whatever like that, Heigl in Alex's body goes to astronomy class, and tries to dig from the teacher a little bit. She's just trying to like, because the big thing with the astronomy teacher too is that he is, he has said that like, Alex was pretty much like a really horrible student of his and like literally like almost set his room on fire or something like that. But she tries to dig from the teacher a little bit. And so this is Heigl trying to figure out like, would you say that Heigl is one of your favorite students in all this? And she's just trying to dig a little bit, just trying to get some stuff from the astronomy teacher. But we're then back to Alex being at home in Heighl's body, and Simon ends up coming over, and he gives like some cookies to Alex, who's in Heighl's body. And that's kind of fun and dandy. And this is where you're supposed to kind of have the idea that Simon is kind of interested in Heigl, but Alex, being in Heighl's body, doesn't realize this right away. And so she kind of rebuffs him. She just like kind of takes the cookies that he's giving her and whatever. But he just kind of gets rebuffed, and that's sort of sad, but it does turn a little bit happier in the end. But anyway, so then, we see that, So Haley, who's in Alex's body, doesn't know how to drive, as we already kind of figured of this. And so, because she then, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she tries to go back to Kyle, and she says, like, hey, look, like, I didn't mean anything what I said last night, blah, 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 blah. Like, don't you at least need a ride home? And then he's like, yeah, I could use the ride, like, pick me up at 4, like, after practice or whatever. And she's like, all right, cool. But Haley doesn't know how to drive, as I stated before, but she gives it a try, though. So she like literally does not know how to drive. Like she like backs out of her parking space really quick, and like she's lucky no other cars were there. Then she like accidentally gets up on the curb. She does not know how to drive at all, and it's hilarious. Anyway, but then so and then even like Kyle's like, are you sure you want me to drive? And she's like, no, don't worry about it. So then we're back at the house. We're with Alex, who's in Haley's body. And pretty much she's hanging out with Caitlin, because that's what her and Haley would normally do, right? And so this is where Alex actually finds out about their snooping that they do and all that sort of stuff. And she's just like, oh, okay, well, now I know this. And so she kind of goes along with it as well. And then we're back in with Haley in Alex's body. And pretty much what happens is that she drops Kyle off at his house. And pretty much like she is trying to like, she's trying to win him back and be like, hey, look, like, let's not break up. Like, I didn't mean anything I said. And like, da-da-da-da. And then they make out, of course, and this comes into play in just a little bit. So she makes out with Kyle, and I just have makes out with Kyle, lol. So of course. So then we have dinner at the Wheatons. Okay, another dinner at the Wheatons after this switch has happened. And the sisters now want to get even with each other. And so in this situation, this is because what we end up finding out is that the girls like find out about each other and what they've been doing, right? So like Haley finds out that like, I guess Alex knows all about like, them snooping in her room, like all that kind of stuff. This is also where Alex finds out that like Haley has gotten back with like, had her get back with Kyle when she broke up with him in particular and all that kind of stuff. So they're just like at each other's throats at this point because they're just like, ugh, you're ruining my life and da 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 da. And so they decided they want to get even with one another. It was also because Alex saw the hickey that was on her neck that, Haley let her get by Kyle. And so she's like, we cannot have that. Like that will like ruin my reputation, blah, da 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 da. So anyway, they want to get even with one another. So they like go and like storm off to their respective rooms and all this kind of stuff. Then you wake up the next morning and we see that. So what ends up happening is, so Haley comes downstairs in Alex's body and she sees that Alex in Haley's body is wearing this like kind of dominatrix wear. This just like fucking weird ass, like, I don't know what to say. It's like a dominatrix outfit kind of. And she looks great in it. I think it's goddamn iconic. She looks wonderful. But anyway, so they're now just, but then of course, like Haley, who's in Alex's body, she's just like, I'm going to eat whatever I want because beforehand, Alex, it was saying like, you got to be on a diet. You got to do this, because it's Festival Queen coming up and blah, 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 blah. But they're just like, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. And so they just like leave. So like even for example, like Haley goes back up and puts like the other outfit on, that the same outfit that Alex had already worn. She puts it back on. So like, again, they're just trying to get back at one another at this point. And so we see that Haley, or Alex, I guess, defaces the bathroom at school. She says that Alexia Wheaton is a wench. And then we see that what also happens is that like Haley goes in there with Alex and she just says that Haley Wheaton is a wench. Because of course they can't say bitch or anything like that because this is a Disney movie. But anyway, so then we have that. So that's kind of fun. But then in the meantime, Haley in Alex's body is like ruining these like photos for like the dance team or whatever. for Alex, pretty much, just making her look silly and like all this kind of stuff, because that could be the worst thing in the world. So at this point, you see that they're getting back at one another and they're trying to like, you know, kind of tear each other down in a way. So like Heigl, for example, you know, Alex and Haley's body like comes into class, just vibing, man. She just has her like little, she just has brought a boombox to her, to school, but she also brought like a little Walkman, and she's just vibing up in class, girl. She just has that headphones on, girl, and she's vibing. I love it. Anyway, she says like this fucking outfit on. It's so cute. But then they have the oral history exam, the oral test in astronomy class, because again, you know, Heigl had missed it, so she has to make it up or whatever. And so like, you know, Alex and Haley's body is just pretty much like not answering these questions right and whatever. I like the one thing where the teacher asks like, what is a comet? And so like Alex responds pretty much as saying, you know, it's like an abrasive cleaning solution or something, which I thought was very funny. Anyway, so then all of this has happened, and you see that Kyle gets a nice little gift for Alex, which is Heigl, I guess. Gets her teddy bear, and it's very nice. This is also where we have the setup from the Popular Girls, so Alex's friends, technically, of the rules that they have. So some of these rules include, like, the 3-month max, which is, like, if you are dating somebody, you can only date them for 3 months. And then if you have already dated them for 3 months, you have to break up with them. And there's like all these other different rules that they have too, which are just kind of arbitrary and stupid. But then there's this fucking dance routine in the lunchroom, because what ends up happening is that Heigl, quote unquote Alex, she has come to school with this boombox, and she is deciding to just dance on the fucking lunch tables. Yes, girl, and she is just like getting up there and she is dancing, honey, and I loved it. Oh my god. But then in turn, Heigl is like making out with Kyle in revenge, because she's just like, oh, Kyle, you're such a good kisser. It's like so good. It's very funny. I really like it. It's just very silly. But then, of course, the girls get in trouble and they're in the principal's office. Ooh. And then so like, you know, but of course, like they're trying to in each other's body, they're like, you know, trying to say like, you know, oh, hey, like, I don't want to be disqualified from this festival queen. So like, oh, let me say this. And then, oh no, I don't want to be disqualified from the science fair. Oh, let me say this, you know, so in the meantime, to not have to be, you know, suspended or like anything like that, what Mrs. Miller has them do is they have them go into the bathroom where the wench graffiti is, and to pretty much clean off the graffiti that is in there. And so this is where we have, because at this point, like I said, the girls have been trying to get back at one another because, you know, they're just trying to ruin each other, right? Because they're just like, ugh. But they decide to reconcile because, you know, this is, I think, also the wonderful scene where they have where, you know, you may have my boobs and you may have my boyfriend, but you are not me, you know, and all that, which I really love that line. This is where pretty much Alex is talking to Heigl in their respective bodies and, you know, talking about how, like, you know, what were you going to do? Like, lose my virginity for me, you know? And then Haley's all like, what do you mean? Like, I would never do something like that. And I have morals, Heigl, like, you know, I have values, Heigl, like, you know, and so she's like revealing that she's a virgin, but the girls decide to reconcile because they decide that this isn't going to help either one of them. So that, you know, they kind of have to help each other, and they can't just like try to bring each other down all the time. Cause again, this is a Disney movie, so we have to have a plot and a moral at some point. But this is a nice little scene because they do kind of just have this truce going on, which I think is fair. And so like Heigl, for example, begs to get back to the science fair, you know, so she's like trying to make sure that happens for her. And yeah, so that all happens and is cool. And the girls, because again, they are trying to wish upon the star, hence the title of the movie, but they are outside and camping outside pretty much. And they're trying to make the wish. And this is a nice little scene too, because they've decided to reconcile and work with each other, but they've also decided to do favors for one another. So they kind of get down to like, this is where we find out where more of the rules are. So like, you have to shave your legs every day. You have to like read self cover to cover. And you have to do whatever the hell else, right? But they decide to do favors for one another because, like, pretty much Alex decides, like, hey, you know what? Plenty of boys like you, Haley, and I'm going to show you that, Haley Wheaton can get a boyfriend. You know what I mean? And in turn, what Haley does is Haley is going to try to help convince some of the teachers that maybe Alexia is not as much of an airhead as they would have thought she was. So they're just trying to kind of help each other out, which is nice. Yeah. And then the parents, they see their girls getting along, which is really nice. And then they meet with the principal and then talking about, how they're doing this hands-off parenting thing or whatever. And then, of course, like the principal, like after their meeting is like, oh God, those poor girls. So then we're in chemistry class. I think we're in chemistry class. So maybe it was either math class or chemistry class earlier. I don't quite remember. I never took fucking chemistry, so I don't fucking know. But anyway, so this is actually showing that in chemistry, this is where Alex, quote unquote, is actually smart now because she has Haley's, obviously brain. And so, but this is showing that, like, okay, Alex knows how to do this, like, problem, for example, and being able to do that, which is, like, super nice. And again, is showing that, hey, maybe Alex isn't, like, a complete, like, airhead, and she actually knows what she's doing, which is, like, super cool, which is nice. So then in the meantime, after that, we're at the basketball practice, and Alex is there, Haley, and Kyle goes up to her and pretty much tells Allie or Alex that he loves her in the bleachers. And of course, like Haley is like, oh shit. No. You can't say that because they haven't said that really. And, they want it to be the first time. And so even like she says, hey, next time you say that, like pretend it was like the first time. And then she just has to like leave and go and leave. Right. And then of course, like Kyle's all like, it is the first time, guess it wasn't good enough, But then Kyle is like kind of going after Alex a little bit, and Kyle now thinks that Alex is in love with Simon because what he sees is that so Haley has been giving rides to Simon, because she could drive or whatever, because I guess she gets better at driving. And so, yeah, but Simon is like interested in her pretty much, but that's not how it should be. And so like he kisses her, for example, and Kyle sees this, of course, and he's just like, okay then. But then we have Alex and Simon talking when they're, on their drive back to their neighborhood and, home and whatever. And Haley is talking about like, well, maybe you need to give Haley a chance, she's not as wild, because Simon's all talking about the personalities and like all that kind of stuff. Like your personality is more, in line with what I like, you might not be my type, but like your personality is really great. And more so Haley would be kind of more of his type, quote unquote. But, this is Haley trying to do a nice thing and, just say like, hey, look, like maybe you need to like give Haley a chance. She's talking about herself, but she's in her sister's body, obviously. Anyway, so the mom and dad, they come home because the girls had fallen asleep together pretty much like downstairs. So like they had, for example, if I'm not mistaken, like they had gotten together and like I think Haley was helping Alex with like a problem or whatever, like with a chemistry problem or whatever the hell. But they end up downstairs and they end up falling asleep on the couches. So the mom and dad come home and they put them up to bed pretty much, which is kind of nice. And so again, you just get to see them kind of get a little bit closer together, which is very nice. And Alex wakes up in the middle of the night, Haley. She wakes up in the middle of the night and she wishes on a star that she sees. And she's just like, oh, come on, where's the star? Where's the star? She wishes on it. she's like, all right, hey, I wish I was, Haley Wheaton or whatever, The wish, unfortunately, does not work. And so she's like, oh, shit, God damn it. But before that, though, before all of this, they decided they were going to live one more day as each other, though, to kind of help with those favors that they were talking about. So the wish doesn't work, and she's just like, oh, shit, all right, damn it. So the girls go off to school, and they're in this kind of whole thing going on. Haley's just feeling kind of a certain way because she's knowing, like, oh God, like this whole thing with Kyle and like, I think it was like, I think Haley is getting Alex ready for the science fair because she has to present this whole thing going on, which is nice. But then also we have Caitlin is also there. And again, she's like trying to get with the popular girls. But Caitlin, so we find out that like the popular girls decided to like put out these flyers saying that there's a party at Caitlin's house. And literally Haley is all like, no. Like Caitlin would never have a party at her house. Like her parents would not let her do that. And so why would they even say this? And so pretty much what happens is that Haley in Alex's body goes up to her friends because of course like Caitlin is like sobbing and she's like so scared. And so, so she's all like, oh, hey, I think Haley has to talk to you about something or whatever. So she like gets Caitlin away from them and whatever. And so Haley just rips into them and as Alex and is just ripping into her friends pretty much and just saying like, how could you do that? Like, how do you go off treating people like this? And they tell her, they're like, well, like we learned it from you, like, act superior and be better than everybody else. And then pretty much like Haley's like shutting that shit down. She's like, you know what? Like, no, we're not doing that. And it's kind of like a very like on the nose thing, if anything, but I do kind of like it. Cause she really is just reading her friends and, they're kind of some assholes. So they decide not to be assholes after this, which is good. And they also already voted for, Alexia. So oops. Oh, well. But anyway, but then Haley goes outside. Kyle finally confronts her about this whole thing of like, I don't want to keep doing this on again, off again thing anymore, all that kind of stuff. And so they decide like, you know what? I didn't mean what I said yesterday. Like love is not just a one-sided thing. It's reciprocal, which is true to a point. And so, yeah. But that's just like a whole thing going on with that, and yeah, again, this movie is kind of all over the place, but it's also really quick. So it's, I don't know. It's not the worst, but we're coming up near the end of the movie. But anyway, so we see the setting up for the science fair. So we see that Haley, Alex, is setting up for the science fair. She has her little note cards, all that kind of fun stuff. So we have that kind of all going on. We also then have a college interview that Alex is doing. Haley is doing for Alex pretty much, and talking about, how she's inspired by her little sister and she's just so bold and whatever. And so that's all nice and dandy. We then see that Haley, Alex, is presenting at the science fair, and it's all very nice and, good because she's able to show that like because the astronomy teacher had even said that Haley is so smart but she lacks some confidence, she lacks public speaking skills, and so being able to show that like Haley can have these things like was like really, really decent for her. Anyway, so we then have the Festival Queen and the presentations of the Festival Queen nominations there. It's very nice, the basketball game that they have. And so this is just to show that like the Festival Queen, the little dance that they're doing after the game is going to be happening. And that's where Alexia could win. It was like kind of this whole thing throughout the whole movie where like, ooh, she could get the Festival Queen, and all this, the Winter Festival. And the girls, they meet at the pool. So they have a pool at school and they meet at the pool. So like, for example, you see that Haley, Alex, is dressed up and it's like, look, she looks all nice and she like shows off her nice little outfit she has. And then Haley is, just kind of being a little melancholy because she just feels a certain way about everything. And she's just like, oh God, like, this is all ruined, like, and to me, like, she kind of is just more just like, what if this is just like forever? Like, I wished upon a star and it didn't work, like, at all. Because you see that, like, Heighl's kind of crying about it, and Alex is kind of crying about it, a little bit. And this is where we get the interesting part of this movie, which I think is different than other kind of body swap movies, that Alex, in Heighl's body, confesses that she actually also wished to be Heighl. So it wasn't just Heighl wishing to be Alex, it was also Alex wishing to be Heighl. And Heighl even asks her, like, well, why would you do that? Like, what's the point? And Alex is saying, like, well, I mean, here I was, like a C student, like not really having a whole lot of options in my life, for college. Like, I put being popular and focusing on everything else, popularity and everything. And I see you with all these possibilities going on. And I thought, well, why not? Like, I'd like to get a chance and have a chance to actually make something of myself, and other than just my looks and my popularity. So that's why she wished. And that's why it didn't work. So they both would have to wish this together for it to actually work, pretty much. And these girls crying because you just see them sniffling and tearing up, and it's just like, and it's just like, I don't know, such sound design in this. It's very, very fun. But yeah, so that was kind of the crux of this movie, and also just kind of the twist of it, of like, yeah, these girls both actually wished for this separately, and we didn't realize that. So like, now it's like, oh, okay, then this makes total sense. So now they're deciding, all right, what are we waiting for? So they go out to like the football field, and they're like sitting in the bleachers, and they look up at the sky, and then they're just like, okay. And so they finally see the shooting star, and they make the wish. They hold hands, and they make the wish to be each other again. And then now, respectively, they're in their own bodies now. And so they're back, and it's nice and cute and wonderful. And if anything, I really think you see through this whole film, or at least at this point, we're about to wrap up, is that, this film, given these girls a chance to really get a respect for one another, and to really see how the other one lives and how they could be better people, from learning about each other and trying to be different folks, which was really cool. And also, I think it's deepened their connection as sisters too, which I think, again, kind of goes into this whole movie of like, getting that deeper connection with your sibling and being able to have that, which is really nice. So, I think that's kind of a big part of this film. So Heighl and Alex, they go into the dance, which is all really nice. And Heighl goes off to find Simon. And then Alex goes up to Kyle, and she decides to reconcile with him. And she tells him, like, I love you. And he tells her that I love you too. And they start to kiss, and it's all very, very nice. So then we have this lady come up and talking about how like the team won the game. And so they're now gonna, announce who the Festival Queen winner is. And so by no shock or surprise, we see that Alex has won the Festival Queen. And of course, she's like too busy making out with her boyfriend now. But then she's like, oh, okay, cool. All this. Anyway, so then we see that Kyle and Alex are on stage, and they're dancing to this ballad that the band is singing. But then we also see that Simon and Heighl are talking with each other, and all of that, which is really nice. And they're dancing a little bit too. And then Alex like kind of gestures Heighl to come over to her, and she gets the crown, Alex does, and then she ends up giving the crown to Heighl to wear, which is like really nice. And yeah, and they both like simultaneously wink at one another as well, while they're dancing with their respective kind of boos, if you will. And then that's pretty much the end of the movie. And so, yeah, everybody, that's the end of Wish Upon a Star. So as we're wrapping up with Wish Upon a Star, I just want to reiterate, if I haven't already, I really enjoyed this film. I'm glad I actually sat down and watched it finally. I think it's definitely a nice little comfort film. It moves so fucking quick, which is really nice, because if you're a part of the short movie gang like I am, because I love a good short movie, this is definitely one to throw on, But I also think it has some nice things to say about, respecting and, getting a deeper connection with your sibling and your sister in particular, or, being able to know that there are things that are more important than being popular and looking pretty all the time. You know what I mean? And, of course it's a Disney movie, so it has to have some kind of moral to it or whatever the fuck, but I think this movie does a good job at being something that feels kind of like a warm blanket, if you will. But it is cool to see this kind of story that is a little bit different than the typical body swap type of movie. The fact that both of these girls actually wished for this respectively, and, this wasn't done without them knowing, was cool to see. And I think the leads of this movie, Katherine Heigl and Danielle Harris, I think they do a great job in this film, and they're kind of the best actors in it, to be honest. But I just think it's so fun, and I think if you're at all interested in either one of these people or any of that, I think it's definitely one to watch for sure. So unfortunately, you can't watch this on Disney Plus because it is not owned by Disney technically. I don't think. Cinar, I always thought was like I think it's a Canadian company. I thought they were the people who did like Are You Afraid of the Dark or whatever. But anyway. But again, this is in Utah, but you can't really find it on Disney Plus, I don't think, but you can find it on, I believe, Prime. It makes the way on Prime all the time. I'm pretty sure I've seen this on Tubi before too, so you may be able to find it on there as well. I think this did get a DVD release, but we're not looking at a Blu-ray or anything like that. But I definitely think this is worth a watch, and I think you should definitely go out and find a way to watch it. I think if you have Prime or if you have Tubi and you can find it, watch it that way. Maybe even rent it. Why not? That might be fun. But definitely go out there and give yourself a nice little treat and watch Wish Upon a Star. I don't think you'll regret it at all. I think it'll be a fun little time. As always, if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so at cultcinemacircle@gmail.com. If you'd like to give any movie recommendations, give feedback on the show, or if you'd just like to say hey, I'm open to all of it. You can also follow the show on Instagram at cultcinemacircle and on Twitter at cultcinecircle. I tend to announce the movies that I'm going to be covering and just interact with people on there if they want. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at Jesse, Jesse, Kremp, Kremp, all one word. On that platform, I tend to log the movies that I watch. I write little stupid reviews about them and just general foolishness over there. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast on your podcatcher of choice, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm pretty much on all of them. Be sure to leave 5 stars and a 1 to 2 sentence review about the show so we can grow the audience and then just spread the love all around. Be sure to tune in next week to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast, where I'll be covering 1993's Jurassic Park. A wealthy entrepreneur secretly creates a theme park featuring living dinosaurs drawn from prehistoric DNA. Before opening day, he invites a group of experts and his 2 eager grandchildren to experience the park and help calm anxious investors. However, the park is anything but amusing as the security systems go offline and the dinosaurs escape. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast, and remember, you may have my body, breasts, and boyfriend, but you are not me. Take care. Bye.